Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees, doing some weird intonation there, and I'm joined by Chris Bratt,
Hiya,
Simon Miller,
good morning,
and Stephen Bernie Burns.
Hey.
Stephen Burns, you're having a terrible day today.
Nothing's even happened.
I'm having a terrible day, and I'm trying to fight on through it to the other side.
It's good. I'm thinking about lunch. Now's the time for
Always good
deliberation about lunch.
Great. Well, it's fucking awesome to have you
thinking
here.
about the gym.
So what have you guys been playing this week?
I've been playing Dead Rising 3. Can we talk about that? Is that interesting? Do people care?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because I've never played a Dead Rising game, and obviously, to be honest, the most information I ever received about a Dead Rising game was on the VideoGamer.com podcast from yourself, Matt Lees, and Stephen W. Burns.
Yeah.
Chatted about it a few weeks ago. So
good, actually.
Going into it kind of knowing what it was like and then what it's not like this time, it was kind of difficult to work out whether I would have preferred the old ones or not. Because I quite like Dead Rising 3. I don't think it's a fantastic game. It hasn't blown my brain or anything, but there's something very Moorish about it.
Yeah.
It probably helps that I play it with Brat on a live stream.
we're playing it together. And
Yeah.
neither of us have a hell of a lot of experience with Dead Rising as a series, so we are just seeing it as this weird zombie game. And yeah, it's good, but there's been, I think the last stream kind of it was a little bit different, wasn't it? We started meeting zombies that you can't just absolutely slash through and create.
And that was a bit frustrating
with.
because I think maybe that way those enemies make more sense when you've got this whole restart thing and you're leveling up. So when you do get to these people, you're more powerful.
Right.
But when you just come across for no reason a zombie that's in a football uniform,
a zombie,
and
an American football.
he took about I'd say we had to go through 2 weapons to take him down.
I mean,
so the weapons get degraded and they
these
vanish.
are proper weapons. We had
we had
rake,
loads.
a rake made out of swords.
And a shotgun and an assault rifle. I think we went through all 3 to take him down.
All of
and-
that
yeah.
to take down one zombie.
Just because he was in an American football outfit. It's like, at least put him in body armor or something.
Up until that point, you can kill like 50 zombies at a time with a well-positioned zombie rake. But
But I do like it. Like I say, I think it helps because I'm playing it with someone else who is experiencing it afresh, like me.
Yeah.
And that is interesting. And just being able to like mow down hundreds of thousands of zombies, there's a certain satisfaction to it. But my biggest problem with it, and again, this probably ties back into what made more sense last time before they make the changes, is it just feels like one giant fetch quest. And we were doing it on nightmare mode, so there is this kind of harbinger of doom hanging over our heads. But it just feels like, give this person to that person, and then you do that, and then they take you on to the next person, and then do that person to that person. It never feels like there's no real narrative apart from get out of the city. And I always thought there would be something to kind of spawn me along to keep me interested. But it's literally just, you do me a favour, I'll do you a favour, move on to the next people. You do me a favour, I'll do you a favour.
you can kind of see why they did that, because the most fun you tend to have is when you need to go a long distance and you just see a huge crowd of zombies. But we haven't seen much variation with the quests.
No, that's it. And at the moment, we don't seem to be struggling with the time. We seem to have a lot of time left and not that much game left to do. Although, so it seems.
It's hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say the Dead Rising series is particularly famous for doing the old 1, 2 and that sort of thing and making you feel like you're right near the end.
All right, then go. Okay.
Whoa!
Overtime mode.
Okay, right. Let's. Yeah.
At the end of the first game, there's like so you finish it, and you're like, yeah. And then there's a whole 4 or 5 hours of the game just called over.
Well,
it has its own title menu, and it's like,
it was actually awesome as well.
yeah,
Like the
it's escaped
finale
from the
of
special ops.
I remember finishing the first
Spoiler.
Dead Rising game and just being like sitting back and going, "Wow, that's an ending." I mean, yeah. To be fair, if you haven't played it yet, you're probably not going to. But I'm not going to tell you the chain of events that lead to it.
Yeah.
But the first Dead Rising game ends with a fist fight between you and an army general on top of a tank.
Yeah.
And it ends with basically you beating this guy and like punching him off the tank into this horde of zombies. But then it ends with Frank. And it's a bit of a shame they brought him back as a character again.
Yeah.
Because I thought the finale was amazing. That you've escaped. Sure, you've escaped from the mall, but you end up stood on top of a tank with nowhere to get into the tank, seemingly. And around you, the camera pans out and it's just like... It's so many zombies.
That's cool.
And it's just
really
like,
cool.
you're just going, great. Well, I've got to escape, but now infinite hordes of zombies.
Yeah. I like that. Sort of like despair. There's nothing you can do.
It was so cool.
Well, if Capcom pulls that trick, then we're probably screwed. But at the moment, it does feel... I don't know, I just expected... I guess the grunt is that you just kill zombies. That's the depth here, whereas I thought there'd be something else. And I think the weapon customization is different now than it was before, right? Because now you find a blueprint, and next to the blueprint will always be the weapons that you need.
You know what? I thought that was kind of an introduction thing, but that's happened almost every time.
It's definitely a thing.
It's not
but
like
in the old games, it was a more
bench. So in the second game,
so you could craft anything. You could literally
well, the benches basically you could only craft stuff at the benches, but the benches I can't remember. I mean, the second game, I can't remember. I think with both games, basically, you had the bench in a room, which would be like a maintenance room. So you'd be able to spot them from quite far away. You'd see a door and you'd be like,
but was there more trial and error? Like, let's see what I can... Because this just tells you what to do.
No, I mean, well, you couldn't get it wrong, but basically what it would be is you'd start off and you'd physically place one object on the bench, and then if you could combine it with the other item that was currently in your hand, the button wouldn't be grayed out. Okay. So it would be just a case of you would just have to be
a bit more organic. I hate that word, but we're going to use it.
To be fair, some of the things you kind of had an idea and thought, I bet I can combine these two things together, and it would happen. And it kind of gave you hints by you'd find cards, basically. The idea it worked was you'd be able to make items at any point in the game. If you found those two items, you'd be able to combine them. But you wouldn't get the double PP bonus for using that weapon. You wouldn't start getting loads of points for using that weapon until you found the card.
Okay.
So often you find a card, by leveling up, it would give you a new card and it would just show you the item. But what was cool is it would show you what the item was, but it wouldn't tell you how to make it. It would just be like, you can use this. And some of them were really obvious.
That sounds better.
Yeah, they have moved away from that. But looks like it's you find the blueprint, the things are right next to it, and so far with some of them you do recreate them on later on. Of course, you'll know what to make from that point onwards. But yeah, like even the really special ones, like we made like a mini bomb that was like supposed to be a special item. It was a gold blueprint, obviously rarer items than usual, and the items were right next to it anyway.
Yeah,
so we made it, and then
that's the thing is like you would usually, and I mean at the start of Dead Rising, you'd always have the basics there. So to be honest, you'd always have something like, it wouldn't completely screw you over. If you go into a maintenance room, it'd be like, here's a baseball bat and some nails. So you can make like a baseball bat with nails.
I remember that. I remember seeing people do that. Yeah.
So, it would basically throw you a rope. And then later in the game, it might be like, here's some petrol and something else so you can make Molotov cocktails or something, But if you wanted to make the more interesting stuff, you'd have to plan ahead. So, and also each maintenance room would always have the same stuff in it, but it'd be different in each room. So you'd kind of memorize it. And it had that kind of thing that you have in Dark Souls, because even though you did have a map, it didn't mark stuff on the map like items.
Yeah.
So you'd have to create your own mental map of the world. And that kind of made it feel cooler in a way, because navigating felt more important. It wasn't just, a lot of modern games now, you just follow the kind of golden crumbs, the bread trail, tells you where to go to get things. It required you to have your own mental map, which I think is a mechanic that too few games do anymore. And I think it's a great shame, because I think it's a really satisfying one to have to physically remember like where things are. Yeah. In your own head.
I'm fairly certain I could still draw the Resident Evil mansion layout from memory. And I did it once while I was at work, not here, bored. And and I think the thing with Dead Rising, the thing the originals that you're getting at is that, and this is the same for Resident Evil, is that it wasn't all laid out for you. You had to remember, and it made navigating the geography a lot more dangerous because it was more on you to make the right call. Because you could kill everything in all those games, but eventually you would run out of shit to kill them with. So you had to make the right choices in where you went and how you went about it. Whereas now a lot of games like, go here, checkpoint, go here, checkpoint. There's no danger to navigation anymore.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
I think the new Dead Rising keeps some of that. I mean, you're definitely thinking, right, this weapon's only going to last this long. I need to find the next replacement.
I think what was lovely about... I think especially this tied in so nicely with the shopping mall theme was the way you did treat it like you were going to the shops.
So I mean, maybe Christmas shopping done ASAP.
Well, that's it. Maybe I approach shopping
it's
like
a more
a
interesting
commando.
setting as well. The shopping mall, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is. But it was more the fact that it was like. It's like having a conversation with the other half or something, being like, oh, we could pop in here while we're there. That's a good idea. And then maybe there's that nice little Starbucks in the corner. We could get a coffee. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And you do that kind of planning, but it would be more like, well, the Japanese tourists are here. I need to save them before they get eaten. And then be like, but there's a toy shop here. I can carry the giant bear through to here, and then I can get the machine gun, and I can make a machine gun turret bear. And actually, you had precisely. This was one of the other cool things about Dead Rising, was because it wasn't just inventory items. You could use items that, because some of the bigger items you couldn't put in your inventory, like the giant cuddly bear. And it meant if you wanted to build the machine gun turret sentry bear, you had to physically carry one of those bears to a room. So it became even more planning of being like, you'd notice. You'd be like, there's a giant bear there and it's quite near to a maintenance room. So you'd know that if you ever wanted to make that for something, this is a good place to do it, because it's the case of like, you do start to plan things and you go, oh, there's a weapon shop here so I can pick up these, and it would just be a combination, because it wouldn't all be about combos. It would be sometimes like, well, there's a sword shop here, wicked, go and carry loads of swords.
I love that sword shop.
Yeah, it's a class, and I remember exactly where it is. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is it becomes like, I was worried immediately with Dead Rising when they made it like,
it feels the environment feels there's no pattern. Well, it feels like a mess. You don't know where anything is.
The fact that as soon as they said, and hey, one of the things you can start to do when you level up your character is make it so instead of needing a sword to make this item, you can use any blade. And that's the point I thought, why is that? That doesn't sound like a good feature. That sounds like they've made. I mean, like, convenience isn't always good. Like, I think
not in that game. That's my biggest problem. It's too convenient.
Yeah,
I think that's the best way to put it. Even with this clocking in this timer counting down, oh my gosh, I'm like, everything's just there. Yeah. And the only real challenge we have is get through the horde of zombies, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. I like wading through zombies and chopping things heads off.
You know what?
But,
I was,
no,
I think you're completely right. The only part where we've really struggled with it and we thought it was going to go wrong was when we ourselves made a mistake. And because we were playing on Nightmare mode, you can only save in certain areas. In the very first stream, we played an hour and a half and realised we hadn't found the save point yet.
I realised.
And then there was like this 20-minute just rush to try and get to a save point and make sure we didn't die along the way.
Yeah, but sorry, go on.
If that I mean, we did that. That was our
we
fault.
created the atmosphere,
yes,
not the
absolutely.
game. We did it because we were being morons.
What I was just about to say is that I think good games create a challenge.
Yeah, I agree.
Great games let you create your own challenge. And I think what I loved about Dead Rising was it allowed you to create your own difficulty curve. And it allowed you to choose, like, and when you died and had to restart the game and you were a slightly higher layer, that was basically like, oh, I failed, but oh well, I'll try again. Whereas before that, you're like, well, I'm not going to die. I'm going to see how far I can get. And it was constantly giving you the opportunity to push yourself.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that my favourite game of all time is Phantasy Star Online is because of the fact, and this is something that very few modern games seem to do, which upsets me, was it let you kind of access things that you shouldn't be able to via the online stuff. So in lots of modern games, it would be like, well, you're not able to go to this level yet because you're only level 10 and you need to be level 20. It kind of gates you off from content that it thinks you're not ready for.
Yeah, it wants you to level up.
Whereas what I liked about Phantasy Star Online was that if you were good enough, you could go straight through from the first level of Forest and you could keep going until you died. And if you were good enough, you could do it. And you know, if you went straight through Forest, you get to the dragon. Oh man, I love PSO. You kill the dragon. Killing the dragon on your first go, your first run through Forest, not that difficult, bit tricky. But then you could go through caves, which was hard, and the boss at the end of caves was a fucker. But if you did it, and I did this once, if you were good enough, you could go straight through and you could kill the boss on caves when you were like level 6 on your own. And that's real achievement.
Yeah.
But also, like, when you played it online, we used to be able to do amazing stuff. Like, you'd be on ruins and you'd all be level like 9. And it's like, this shouldn't be possible. But giving you the capability to take on challenges that are vastly above your current capability is really satisfying.
To see what you can do with it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Pushing yourself. And a lot of games don't allow you to push yourself.
Well, I think a lot of them are worried about doing it, aren't they? Because if they do that wrong, then players are going to get frustrated that it's like, oh, well, I could never do this in the first place. And you kind of have to have that balance and make sure the player knows what they're getting into.
I think it depends on the game as well, because mostly I wouldn't like that. I like sometimes just to sort of, waltz my way through a game. But with Dead Rising, I'd actually like it to be harder. I mean, that's my biggest problem.
Games should give you enough rope to hang yourself with.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what the original Resident Evil games did really well. Like, there's a map, there's some keys, find the keys, make your own strategy. And again, Left 4 Dead, put it on an expert mode. And then it's not about the game's challenge necessarily. It's about how you react and your strategy. In the original Left 4 Dead, the best strategy is for everyone to crouch. And the reason is because you don't move fast enough to spawn loads of hordes on you, because the director will always spawn stuff on you if you're moving too quickly. But then you don't move slow enough for it to also start essentially sandbagging. So you get this constant kind of nice flow. And a lot of people are like, people run off on their own, dead. But if you're all crouched, you can't really fire into each other. And so you get this, but you start making your own strategies for games. With PSO, it seems like you were doing exactly that. And with the original Dead Rising 2, it was, so one of the sword shops is in a bit of the mall that's not finished yet. And it's like really dark and there's loads of ramps you can climb up. But to get to that sword shop, because it's dark, the enemies are tougher, and you want to get everyone through, be like, how many hostages or whatever survivors can I get through at the same time? And so the game is constantly going, I mean, you can do that. You got, and bang, down comes the hammer, and you're fucked. You're like, but you learn something, whereas when games hold your hand, you don't learn anything.
That's the thing. And it's almost like actually the combat in PSO, despite the fact that it was really simple, is actually kind of weirdly... It reminds me of Dark Souls in the way that on a purely numbers game, you're going to lose. If you let these enemies hit you, you will die. In like on PSO, when you were going in difficulties you shouldn't be in, because there were no caps. It was like you could go into hard difficulty when you were like a level 1 character, and it's like, yeah, you can do that. And it's like, oh, you got hit by an enemy, you're dead. Like it would kill you in one hit. But if you were good enough at the game, you would know the behaviours of the enemies. And in Dark Souls, obviously, they're a lot more complex and the enemies behave in much more erratic and dangerous ways. Yeah. Whereas in this PSO, they just come towards you and hit you mostly. But if you knew the timings of their attacks and you knew all the stuff, you could always just be a pixel out of range and you could be weaving around, and it gave you the ability to kind of do stuff that you shouldn't be able to. I think actually when they both came out, I've said this before, but this kind of ability to make your own challenge and as you say, being given the rope to hang yourself. I think when Skyrim and Dark Souls both came out, I think one of the reasons I felt so kind of... I played a lot of Skyrim and I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed the narrative aspects of it. I enjoyed being like...
Yeah, I agree.
I'm saving the Magician's College and stuff.
To be honest, and this I'll get probably... You get crucified for this, but I turn most Bethesda game difficulties down to easy, because I just enjoy walking around in the world and seeing what's happening with the story. I don't want to be challenged in those games. Just like finding out what's going to happen.
I don't blame you for that.
That's the worst game to do it in, because the combat in a lot of the Bethesda games is
jank.
Yeah, and
it's pretty crap. Yeah,
it is very much a numbers game, but in the most boring way. Because you're often, if you're playing like a sword and shield class, you'll just hit the other guy, and
Oblivion
especially. Got more health.
Oblivion was just stupid.
I hated the fact that Skyrim was scaled to you.
Yeah.
I think there was the only times in Skyrim when I felt challenged was when for some reason bears were just more dangerous than dragons.
Yeah.
Mammoths were more dangerous than dragons as well. You don't want to mess with a mammoth.
No, it's true. And also, like I think there was like at one point I opened a magic treasure chest or something, and some giant leech came, and I had a lovely moment where this leech was chasing me down a mountain. I had no potions. It was really fucking me up. Yeah. It was a blizzard, and I was just like, one of my fondest memories of Skyrim was running the fuck away
from a leech.
That kept chasing me way longer than it should have done. And I was scared. Yeah. And the thing was, though, generally, what I hated about Skyrim was anywhere you went, it was always scaled to be like something you could do. Whereas, as I've always said, one of my favourite things about Dark Souls is right at the start, it's like the obvious way to go appears to be the cemetery almost. Yeah. And you go, I'm going to the cemetery. It's like skeletons that fuck you up.
You've just taught him something.
No, but what is wonderful about it...
That's taught me nothing.
What's great about this is what makes it great. And this is why the whole scaling stuff in Skyrim left me feeling really cold, because it doesn't give you the option to do it. Was that what I love about the cemetery is for the first few times I played Dark Souls, I was like, don't go to the cemetery straight away. Well, you do, actually. It is worth going there because there's some good stuff you can get.
I'll talk about that in a minute.
It's the fact that when you can... And actually, last time I played it on my own, I was like, I'm going to go to the cemetery first.
I'm going to do it.
And you can. There's a boss. You go into the depths and stuff. Pinwheel is a boss there. If you want, you can do that first.
His name's Pinwheel.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
He's a really easy boss.
I love the name.
He's a really easy boss at the end of a really hard section. But I like the fact that it's like, you shouldn't. And the game knows that you shouldn't.
But it still allows you to try and do it.
It lets you do it, and you can do it.
On that note, because I get a lot of tweets about this, we're going to do the whole video of me playing Dark Souls for the first time, and it'll be soon now because YouTube things have gone back to somewhat normality, so maybe this week, next week. So I haven't forgotten. I am going to do it, and you can watch it in all its
I'm looking forward to
horrific glory.
I don't want to be a part of it because I know too much about the game.
It's going to be great, man.
Okay, we'll chat about this later.
I've not finished Dark Souls, but I know I love it. I think it's amazing, but I'm not on Matt's level on the kind of know everything about the game. So still stuff that I'm discovering. But even I wish that I could just delete all of that, like delete the cache.
Genuinely scared. You guys make it sound like I'm going to get murdered for real.
But in terms of like the game enabling you to do whatever you want, it's not Dark Souls, it's Demon Souls. So when the game starts, you essentially get killed and sent to the underworld. Except you cannot be killed. Like there's a way for you to defeat the massive boss the game starts with. So like someone on YouTube's like, are you in your pants or something? You've got nothing. And this thing is gigantic. And
when you can kill it,
it's narrative devices.
And then you get the credits and game over.
It's to kill you and send you to the underworld. No, this guy's like, don't think so. And that's a perfect example of
that's pretty
creating.
good.
I think
challenge.
basically then you get a treasure, and then you for whatever reason you do
go on.
Kill yourself.
If the game doesn't just go,
you broke it. But it allows you to, yeah.
But there's that game on PSP made by the Capcom man who I forgot the name of. That's someone that people will be screaming at the listening devices now. But he made a game on the PSP. It was like Monster Hunter. And you basically, the first thing you do is fight the last boss.
Soul Sacrifice.
That's right. You can complete it in 20 minutes. Like you fight the fast boss, he's supposed to kill you. If not, you kill him. And he goes, right, well done. You did the game.
That's my favourite game of all time.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's fantastic.
It is
I think
smart.
that's brilliant.
It is
so
smart.
good.
There's a little element of that at the start of Dark Souls, and the fact that the tutorial at the start it introduces you to the boss, but you've got a shit broken sword and you just have to run away. And then you fight him 5 minutes later when you've got a sword and you have to beat him.
I'm genuinely intimidated by Dark Souls.
But you can beat him with a broken sword. It's hard, but you can do it.
Is there a difficulty option?
Nah, mate.
I literally never even turned it on. I've only ever looked at the box.
That reaction, the kind of because a difficulty option in the game runs so counter to how the game is built.
I know
it's not built for easy, medium, or hard. It's built for your own ability evolves, not the game's.
All my Dark Souls
challenger.
information comes from YouTube.
You're going to love it. It is one of the. I think it is. The more I think about it, I think it's the best game I've ever played.
And the atmosphere is so good. It's so it's
genuinely,
like
it's kind of
genuinely
like,
scary.
and you know what? Like I wasn't expecting it because the main reason we started doing Dark Souls Pants Man. If you want to watch me completing the whole Dark Souls in my pants, the whole thing's on YouTube. It's long, but it's quite a lot of fun. But I kind of did it because I wanted to play some more Dark Souls, basically.
And it was a nice idea to do it in your pants.
It was a fantastic experience for me because of the fact that having everyone on the stream, like I thought I knew a lot about that game. I didn't know anything about that game. Like, even though I completed it like almost 2 times, I didn't know anything. And just having people telling us about the lore and all this stuff that I'd never knew about the world and the game. It's a really cool world. And there's so many secrets and so many little things and so many like elements of plot, which it just doesn't tell you about, but obviously people have delved into it. It's beautiful. It's a piece of work. Anyway, I should probably stop talking about Dark Souls.
That was an amazing tangent. I feel I'm responsible for that. I didn't say anything that was like controversial this time. Actually, on that note, I'd like to apologise for last week about talking about knives. A lot of people tweeted me as it was a joke. I don't think knives should be used in any walk of life apart from cooking.
I did sort of caveat at the time though that you were like quite deeply unwell.
I was unwell and on pills, and it was a joke, but maybe a joke that went too far.
No, of course. It's good to clarify.
Yeah.
Don't use knives.
Don't use knives unless you're cooking. Then it's all right.
I'll tell you what I've been playing though. Actually, I've been playing Zelda.
Yes, and
Link
you go
Between Worlds
because I'm doing
So
it again
good.
on hero mode. Fuck that.
And you know what we're talking about with making your own challenges and stuff?
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about this game, and I think it is a very interesting Zelda game. I think a lot of people have said it's reductive and it's sort of just another Zelda game.
No,
but I think a lot of the changes they've made to it are really smart. And also they're changes that I think would be counterintuitive. And if I'd just seen them on paper, raw, I would have been horrified. Like the fact that now they've made it so that you don't have bombs and arrows. You just have this
a meter
energy bar.
Yeah, and that corresponds to all your items. Yeah.
All your items use the same thing that is a regenerating. So you can't run out of bombs. You can't run out of arrows.
Yeah.
So I would have been like,
Sounds
really?
wonderful.
I don't know. Yeah, obviously we'll get to you in a minute. But I think what I like about it is a lot of people say it's too easy. And I don't think it is. And it's made me really think about the nature of game design in a way because it is. It's not. It's really hard to describe this, but a lot of people say it's too easy, right? Because they got through the game and they realised they didn't die. Like you said, you died like 11 times.
It tells you at the end. I died 11 times, yeah.
I've died, so far, I've just got to the kind of low rule bit where you go into the other dimension.
Yeah.
Spoilers, but sorry, that's...
If you don't know that, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
But I still love you, but you're an idiot.
It's on the box. It's on all the posters.
It's on the trailer.
It's like, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's on the key art. But it's basically, I'm about maybe a third of the way through the game. And I've only died once. And because it's not like super challenging in terms of combat. I've had a couple of moments where it really just ramps it up and puts you in a horrible situation.
You've got bits
where
to
you
come
die.
as well where it gets difficult as well.
I'm sure. But, you know, the thing that I like about it is that people seem to think it's easy because you don't die, when actually dying is not what makes a game difficult. And dying as a mechanic is not fun. Dying came from the arcade machines. The whole reason of death was
put more money in.
Yeah. That was why the risk of failure was the prime motivator for games for years, purely because lives was something you could sell to people. Whereas now, like, I kind of think the fear of dying is important, but not the actual death itself.
I totally agree. I think that's where it excels. Zelda.
I think that's the thing. Is basically I'm not dying very often, but because of the rental system, it means that allows you to create your own challenge, because the safest way to do it it would be to just rent a couple of items and then get the items that you need for that temple, because it's quite clearly flagged. It shows you outside the temple what items you need for that temple. So the safest thing to do is rent the items you need, go and do the temple. If you die, never mind, you lost maybe 100 rupees because of that. But that's not how I want to play it. So I rent all of the items.
Exactly how I did it. Exactly how
and
I did it.
And I know that means that any secrets I find, pretty much along the way, a lot of the secrets, I'll be able to get the secret rupees and do the stuff.
Yeah, because you've got the stuff you need to do it. All the exactly how I played this game.
But I also know that if I die, I lose effectively about 400 rupees. And it means that whilst I'm not dying, it means I'm worried about dying.
Exactly. And that bleeping heart all of a sudden becomes
genuinely worried. And actually, I've had a point where, because I was on a bleeping heart on the world map, I'm like, fuck this. And I teleported back to my house.
I have. I've left dungeons. I left dungeons, because I thought it's easier for me to go out, find a pot, get a heart, than it is to die and have to go through all the ordeal of doing it.
But it makes the fights really intense.
It
makes some of the fights and some of the sections really intense.
But I also think that's why you don't die as much, like you said, because you're more aware of it. Therefore, I don't want to say you play better, but you're more focused, maybe. You play smarter, maybe, and that's why people don't.
Well, in
die.
previous games, what would happen if you died? You go, oh fuck's sake, I'm back to the start of the dungeon.
It kicks you back to the dungeon.
It's a waste of time more than anything. It's not really going to impact what items you've got or anything.
Whereas even though now I've bought half of the items from the shop, and I'm rupees aren't so much of a problem anymore, and I'm not that far off probably buying some more of them. I don't want to die, because it's like I've created the challenge, and it's dumb now that this should have to be a thing with video games there. But it's got to the point where now I've created myself a challenge that I'm not going to die.
Yeah. And that's good, though. I think that's
it sounds dumb that I should
wonderful.
have to create that, because games usually do that for you, but they don't anymore. And now it means that's my challenge, is I don't want to die. And whenever I die, I'm angry with myself, because I'm like, fuck, you got killed.
Exactly. I also think people forget as well, and I'm sure people would say I don't agree, but I really do think this. Nintendo Zelda handheld games have never been truly brutal. They weren't as hard as Ocarina of Time Master Quest or anything like that. Like Link's Awakening was tough, but it was never, it never slammed home. Minish Cap was a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Let's face it. And I think people forget that every Zelda game that's ever been made for a handheld, maybe Link's Awakening aside, there has been some sense of accessibility there. Because since the Game Boy, Nintendo saw that as their console for everybody. And we want everyone to have a Game Boy. That's why they released the ill-fated Game Girl for a while. And then people forget that. So this, to me, if anything, is probably more of a challenge than those games because of the mechanics it's introduced. But
you're right. And I mean, also I love the adventure element they brought back. I love the fact
exploring is incredible.
Because death is now a risk, right? Because death is now something that's not just an irritation; it's something that actually causes you trouble. It means that for the first time, this is the first time it's ever happened to me in a Zelda game. I went into a temple, I got killed, and I thought, right, I don't want to get killed again. And so what I did was I went and I started exploring the world map. And I thought, before I go back into that dungeon, I want to find 4 heart pieces, so I've got another heart, because that other heart will stop me from dying.
Yeah.
And it meant that I just basically started wandering. And you discover so much cool stuff. I love the fact that you don't just get items from dungeons anymore. I got my ability to pick up rocks and throw them just from a dude in a house.
Yeah. The Hyrulean Shield is just in a shop.
Yeah.
Want to buy it? Yeah. It doesn't tell you that. You've got to find that shop.
It doesn't do the whole thing of being like, you've got to go here and talk to this guy to get this item. You just find stuff.
It's so open. It's so open.
You expect would be parts of a dungeon or parts of a puzzle.
Yeah.
And they're not. And it's just the fact that you can go and just potter about and do stuff and find secrets and find stuff. I spent a lot of time just going around finding the little weird shell creatures that upgrade your items.
Oh man,
because I was just like, I want to do it.
Love it, yeah.
And it's weird because I've got so much of how these games work in my head now. It's almost like we talked about this with MMOs, of that sensation of being like going through the motions because you have to. It doesn't feel like that at all. I don't feel like I'm like, I need to go and get 10 of these so I can do this. I'm just pottering about, finding stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a hurry to do the temples.
There's so few games that manage to get you in that mind frame as well.
Precisely, especially when they're
really
like
difficult.
using tropes that you know about.
Yeah.
Because they try and be like, hey, explore, do some side quests, have fun. Side quests now, to me, just the word makes me feel bored.
Yeah.
Because there's always... Now, side quests in RPGs just a fluff to keep you going. It's like, here's more hours.
They're time sinks, aren't they? That's it, really.
Whereas it's the simple Zelda stuff. I like the fact that you almost second guess it. Like the bit where you do get the power glove so you can pick up rocks. Yeah. The guy says to you afterwards, oh, feel free to get rid of some of those rocks outside my house if you want, but you don't have to. And I'm just like, I go outside.
I chucked all those rocks.
I clear all of his rocks, and then as soon as you throw the last rock, he comes out and goes, oh, wow. and it gives you a big and it gives you a big fat rupee.
Yeah,
and also I've got to say I fucking love that they've got rid of the wallets, because I was saying this to you the other day, Simon. There was nothing I hated more in Zelda than when you found like a big rupee and you had a full wallet and you're like, no,
I know, what a waste.
It's a complete waste of money.
Devastating.
Whereas now it's just like, because there's no cap, it's like you never feel like, oh, there's no point me doing this now, because that
you get more and you spend more as well.
Yeah.
They've balanced it very, very well. And to be honest, that's probably a mechanic they can take on through all Zelda games now. I didn't really think I missed trying to find a stupid wallet.
No, same. I mean, that's the thing, is that I honestly think that they've done a great job of sprucing up the series. And actually, weirdly, it's the same with XCOM, actually. When they first saw they were simplifying XCOM, I was like, oh, fuck you guys, I don't want it simplified. And then it came out and I was like, you know what, these simplifications just they make the game better.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I really think they have. So I'd really highly recommend it. I mean, we made a video last week saying about how should you get an Xbox One or a PS4, and my answer right now is don't get either. They're fucking boring and there aren't any really good games for them.
3DS,
buy a
baby.
3DS XL. I don't know about you, but the 3DS XL, the 3D works better in my eyes.
On the bigger screen,
on the
it's
XL.
better. Oh, I totally agree. It's I can't think of the word, but it just looks better.
It does, and I've always hated the 3D on that console. I've always been...
I've only
Zelda,
played in 2D so far.
Zelda,
Yeah.
I mean, not that your Zelda, A Link Between Worlds does use it exceptionally well.
It does.
It uses it in a way when you think it actually would be worse without the 3D on.
Yeah, fair
Whereas
enough.
Ocarina of Time doesn't. Ocarina just has
It's the first game, I must admit, I've always said that they should get rid of the 3D, but it's the first game I've played where actually I love the 3D in it.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say that about Mario 3D Land, and I haven't played that myself
You'd
yet.
hope so. You'd hope so,
I'm
considering
starting
the
to think
name.
that Mario 3D Land is the best looking game this year. Do you know that? I was thinking
Do you mean
this the other
3D
day.
World?
What did I say?
Well, Land.
I meant World.
Yeah.
I think just the way it looks, I think is astonishing. I think it's nicer than Rise.
But it does. I mean, there's I'm not going to spoil it, but there's some bits in Link Between Worlds where you're kind of going up dungeons and they're kind of staircases and there's the drops down.
Yeah.
You then realise that you look down as you move that because there's lots of tower dungeons, because obviously that's a Zelda thing, dungeons with different levels, being able to see the scale of
vertigo, isn't it?
Looking right down to the bottom and getting that incredible sense of depth, you realise that for a top-down game like Zelda with that incredible depth and detail, it's perfect, because it really is. Like, there's some bits where you almost do, as you say, get vertigo when you're dropping down.
Oh, yeah, it gives a
purposefully.
great sense of it, yeah.
It's an amazing game. I mean, I think a lot of people, if you're not a massive Zelda fan, then maybe you won't appreciate it as much. But I just think that...
I think most people get something out of it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a really amazing Christmas game because it makes me feel like a child again.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of half saving it because I want to play it
you
at
want to play
home
over those breaks.
on Christmas.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm glad you like it, Matt. Makes me very happy.
I really love it. I'm also enjoying the story, but I won't talk about that at all.
Yeah.
But cracking
a couple of nice twists.
If you've got a 3DS, you need to get that game.
Again,
definitely.
another must-have for the 3DS, baby.
It's console of the year, hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
There's a video coming for that whole idea, right, next week?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Games to get for your...
Yeah.
Probably going to start work on that
Christmas
this
3DS.
week. But yeah, basically we've keep saying that console is the best console to get right now. So we're going to do a little rundown of all the games that you should definitely check out, because there are a lot of really good games on 3DS
that you may not know about.
And that's the thing, a lot of them are actually there's a lot of really good core experiences as well, like stuff like Fire Emblem. If you never played a Fire Emblem game,
God, I need to do that.
the one on the 3DS is probably the best.
Oh, it's up there. It's definitely an argument to
Fire
have.
Emblem
It's
game.
fantastic, yeah.
Monster Hunter is class on the
Hardcore.
3DS.
I'm not going anywhere near Animal Crossing. I've seen you change as a result of that.
Animal Crossing, I always like the idea of, but I'm a bit too old for it now or something. I don't know. Maybe my heart's just broken or something. I don't know. Anyway,
I hate Animal Crossing.
how are you getting on, Chris?
Yeah, so last week...
You better be at that damn Forest Temple, boy.
I have, but I haven't...
You did it. You did the Forest Temple. That's good.
I-
Good job.
so-
Cool.
First of all, the Forest Temple should be renamed to the Temple of Small Silver Keys that you have to go looking for.
Well,
Get used to it.
if you think that now, yeah, you've got to do all the dungeons.
Admittedly, it's not quite as catchy a name.
No,
but,
it's not, yeah.
But there you are. I was kind of surprised when I completed the Forest Temple how much it really ramps up the story. Like I don't
gets
know,
involved, right?
I don't know why, but I was kind of expecting that, like for the next real big jump in the storyline would be when I've completed all the temples,
Yeah.
and then it carries on just in that kind of traditional game sense. But no, everything kicks off after.
Yeah.
Turns out I wasn't actually a child elf all along.
No.
I've been stolen by a tree who kept me in his village.
Yeah. There's that classic fairy tale of the giant tree that stole a boy.
Yeah,
It's a good story. You've got
Timeless.
you've got many more twists and turns to go.
Where are you now then? Where you've done the Forest Temple, was that it?
Yeah, that's
Right,
I
okay.
haven't had a whole lot of time.
So you've chatted to Sheik.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't even know where I'm going next. I need to kind of
It will let you know.
have a little bit
It
of an
will drop
explore.
you some
See, I
seeds.
really want to get my horse sorted because
You can now.
Is
Go to.
Yeah.
It's the farm called.
Oh, he changed
The
the,
ranch.
name of it, doesn't he? The
It's
fucker.
the ranch.
What's it called?
It's Mario's Ranch.
no, it's not. What's the name?
It's
It's
pretty
got
much what I call it.
Marlo? No,
Marlon. Is it just Marlon's right there? The name.
Marlon.
We're awful people. We don't know this. I hate me too. Don't worry, internet.
I'm gonna
I hate me
Google
too.
it.
Because like when I was a kid, I went to the ranch, played a song to the pony.
That's
and,
good, you gotta do
and
that,
everything
yeah.
was good. And
It's all right.
I
Go back.
thought that's when I was going to get it, but no.
Go back, chat to the evil man.
Well, Mario's
That guy.
fallen asleep in a village, and I've got the chicken to wake him up. But when he wakes up, he
Let's go
doesn't.
talk to the evil guy at the ranch.
The evil guy,
That's what I'm
not
saying,
Mario.
too.
I thought I was going to start
have
some
you
kind
not
of
His
been
name's
ranch.
Marlon.
I was going to create a
He
ranch
hasn't-
rebellion.
He hasn't been back to the ranch.
He'll
You've
go
not
back
been
to
back
the
to the
ranch.
ranch.
Just go back to the ranch, my friend.
You've got to
As
go
an
back to the
adult.
ranch, man. It's Lon Lon Ranch.
I'm sorry, world.
And it's because the ranch
Just-
belongs to Malon.
you can
and
stone me
her
to death.
Father Talon.
That's right.
But there's
I
another
called him out. I
character.
got that wrong as well. I don't deserve to be alive. Everything I just base my life on is over.
I have been back and seen that Luigi's now in
Bit
control
much, dude.
and is like working with
Luigi?
Ganondorf. Yeah,
Oh, you mean the bad dude?
Yeah.
So you have been back.
it's based
been
on
taken
Mario and
over.
Luigi, isn't it?
No,
It is.
it's not based on Mario and Luigi.
Well, whatever.
Zelda. What are you talking about?
And also, like, he's evil. Luigi isn't evil. That's slander.
Luigi.
Wow.
In this, the year of Luigi, how dare you accuse him
How
of
can
being
you do
evil?
this in this, the year of Luigi?
Okay.
Did they actually? Did Nintendo say that, or did we make that up? Or
I
did they
don't know
actually say
where
it's
it
the year
came.
of
No,
Luigi?
they did say it was the year of Luigi.
What were they thinking?
I
The
think they
year of Luigi. It definitely wasn't. For our record,
Is
definitely
that what they're going
Well,
to blame it
it is
on in the long run? We shouldn't have let Luigi have control.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the
The Wii
He
U's
killed the
fucked.
Wii U.
God damn it.
It would make sense. He's incompetent.
We're
as a
talking about
character.
that later, right? About Mario's sales.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Yeah, it's part of the
Okay.
news.
But
I've got something to say.
Other than Zelda on my bus rides, I played Resogun quite a lot.
Yeah,
And
Brat's obsession with Resogun this isn't a joke. Is the equivalent of a crack addict.
no,
on
it's
crack.
It's
I've heard
kind
it's
of-
good.
It's interesting.
Oh, it's
that
amazing. But I went in there. He didn't blink for 5 minutes when he was playing, and he had bloodshot eyes, and he refused to go home.
It's interesting
It's
that you link
true.
it to drugs because I haven't taken drugs. I haven't taken all of the drugs, but if I did take all of the drugs, I think it would be a similar experience to sitting down and playing Resogun.
No.
Because there's just
It's a video feature.
color
on that,
just
I feel.
explodes in your face, and it's so good.
You're really good at it as well, aren't you?
Well. I don't know.
You're in the top 2,000 at one point. That's not bad.
Only on one level.
It's not bad,
And it took me a
though.
long time, Simon.
Yeah, but still, I think that's in top 2,000 on anything. I think is pretty good.
I don't know how many people have bought the game though. Probably not huge.
Well,
That's
it,
trash,
no, you
you
get,
know.
it
I
comes
don't
free
know.
of PlayStation Plus, doesn't it?
yeah.
So how many people have PlayStation
So
Plus?
you get
Well, you still looked good at it anyway.
you get a free trial when you get the PlayStation 4. So doesn't everyone have Resogun?
Maybe.
You'd think so, but I worry that most won't.
Are you
I
trying
worry
to
that-
undermine my achievement here, Matt? God damn it!
Absolutely.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Everything you do,
Yeah.
I will destroy.
The thing is it more like Ikaruga or is it more like Geometry Wars? Because there's a very big difference for me.
Uh,
There was a lot of bees in that.
It
sentence.
was, yeah. I like
Very
it.
big difference.
I'm not sure it is that much like Geometry Wars, other than the fact that it's very, very colourful
I
and
prefer if it's like Geometry Wars.
it's not like a classic shoot 'em up because obviously you can go in any
Yeah.
direction and there's these objectives you have to pick up the humans as you go along and there's this constant kind of time constraint
His
there.
face lit up again. Look, his face is lit up with the crack.
It's
I look forward to because obviously when we get because we're still having some trouble with our capture stuff because the
That's a
PlayStation
joy.
4 is bollocks.
I've been told it might be today, might be tomorrow.
Yeah, but when that
We'll see.
happens, because obviously Brad's been playing a lot of Resogun, we'll definitely have a video up.
It'll probably be an
about
expert's guide as
the
well.
Resoguns.
An addict's guide to Resogun.
Well,
First of all, you'll need a teaspoon.
To foil.
there's no way I can record that
Terrible.
whilst we talk. Though I'm going to have to record that.
No,
beforehand.
that's
It
fine,
would-
that's fine.
It would kill me. Imagine having a conversation and playing a game like that.
It's
Impossible.
not. It's not easy. That's
No.
for sure.
No,
Although sometimes you get in a zone. Like, it was like, do you remember when you?
Oh god, yeah, I
When
had
we're
to
playing
trick
Dark-
you into talking about something.
when we were playing Demon's Souls, whenever I was concentrating on it, I
you
kept
just
dying.
vanished, yeah.
And
It was
as soon as
Oh, right, I see.
Brad discovered that if he started getting to me to talk about Viva Pinata, I was just basically
So
like,
your subconscious kicked in.
I
and
was
it's amazing.
breezing through it,
Yeah.
and I was just absolutely slicing these enemies to
that-
pieces.
There you go.
So as long as I was talking about like my favourite Viva Pinatas, my favourite is Crocodile.
Thanks.
Then I could do anything. So
There you go.
No, not Crocodile. Cocodile, of course. 'cause they're
Cocodile.
all
I never played it,
puns
so.
based on our mate. Viva Pinata, it very almost made my list of the generation of games.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, yeah.
It's
you
an
were-
incredibly
When we had that chat
important
about it
game.
when you were really excited about it. You love
Everyone
Viva
should
Pinata.
play that game. It's
What's the
badass.
sequel called?
Oh, Trouble in Paradise.
That's right.
It was rubbish because they made new achievements for it, and the achievements in the original game were perfect because they basically, when you got all the achievements, you finished the game,
Yeah.
and they were all like really nicely staggered. Like you get like 5 of this type, 5 of this type, and it would be like, oh, you're a master gardener now, so you get 50G, and you're like,
Oh, stop it,
Fuck
Brad.
off,
He
fuck
laughed at
off.
masturbator.
What?
Yes,
I
you
left a
did.
master gardener.
Yeah, but you were thinking of that.
Oh,
you're thinking about wanking, filth bag. But yeah, in the second one, they were like, oh, well, we'll have to make the achievements different. So they made them all really obscure things that you really had to go out your way to do.
I see.
Rather than giving you a motivation.
Is that Rare's last
Is
good
that-
game then?
Viva Pinata.
Yeah, arguably
you
so.
can't just hand out the
Quite, well,
title.
no, Nuts
Master
and Bolts
Gardener.
was like not
Was that
perfect.
after Viva Pinata?
Yeah, but-
Sugar my D's. I did not know
But
that.
if they made the achievements for the second game exactly the same as the first game, pretty
Would've been
much,
good.
it would have been equally amazing. And I would've played
Tinkering
it
for
again.
tinkering's sake's never good.
Anyway, Steve, what have you played this week?
A lot of FIFA.
Next gen though, right?
A lot of
Xbox One
next-
FIFA.
Yeah, a lot of Xbox One, PS4 FIFA. I like it a lot more than the current gen version.
You're playing. Oh, is that for? Why are you playing both? Surely you want to keep one save file.
Well, I haven't been playing any of the kind of campaign modes.
Okay.
Simply because time on the machines is at a premium. So
Yeah.
whichever one's free, I just grab it.
Yeah, you've been flirting with both consoles.
Oh, you know how it is, you know. But I think it's really accomplished. I think there's still a few like kind of slight problems with it, but on the whole, it's, you know, in the last generation, FIFA was moving in a certain direction. It felt like it needed to take a lot bigger leaps, but it couldn't. And I thought that was maybe a bit cynical, and I think it was. But then when you see this one, obviously there's a lot more power available to them, and it has made not a massive, but like a mini leap, like a lot more animations, and crucially, you can get in and out of animations quicker now. So there's obviously a lot more memory,
Dodge cancel.
pretty much.
Yeah.
But
Crosses are still balls though. I played a few games, and one game I think it was Sunderland
Yes, they are
versus
still
Arsenal.
balls.
Oh yeah, and it finished 4-4, and every goal came from a cross on the head.
Oh,
It's
really?
ridiculous.
I thought
they patched that.
Well, I
out
thought that.
somehow.
But they patched it on the current one.
What?
The
And
current
not
gen
the-
version.
What? They knew they'd made a mistake
Honestly,
and then didn't.
I don't
Make the same
think
patch.
I don't like FIFA
That's
14 last gen, or whatever you want to call it, the one that just came out. And I'm not a massive fan of next gen. This is the first year I won't play FIFA. That breaks me, man.
But-
My heart is crying.
In terms of games that aren't FIFA that I've been playing, I fired up Call of Duty 4 on PC the
Oh,
other
man.
day.
Modern Warfare.
Yeah, and
Jeez.
just to see our multiplayer.
Is anyone still on it?
Yeah, I've had that, yeah.
And it's modded as well. So I just jumped onto a server, and it was on the map Strike, I think it is.
I can't remember that.
So if you remember it, it's that one. And there was now about 36 players in the game. And so
Jeez.
the mini map was just constant kind of spawning and dying of like little blinking arrows and such. But they modded in their own kill streaks. And because there were so many more players on the map, which was quite small, it gave the game like a proper battlefield feeling about it. And you had to creep for territory and turn the map. Whereas turning the map in Call of Duty,
What
now,
kind
you
of kill
just run
streaks are
around.
people modded in?
So there's one that was like a Predator drone now. So I think in Call of Duty 4 it was Radar, as it was called then.
Radar airstrike.
Radar
helicopter.
airstrike, and then the chopper. But now there was one for 5, and you could, and all of this nonsense. And I was like, this actually looks amazing. I mean, there's so many people still playing, and I love that about they just reclaimed the game. They went, right, this is ours now, and we'll do whatever the fuck we want with it.
Yeah.
No.
So fuck ghosts and that nonsense. Here's what we think.
Might go back
So-
and play Halo 3.
But yeah,
I kind of like that. I think there's an interesting. I think that's almost the future of games in terms of the libraries, you know, because it's a shame that, you know, very often now games just get abandoned by publishers, and we always have like, you know, I mean, to be fair, a lot of them it's like EA are switching off the servers for Shitty Punch 4.
Tiger Woods, PJ402.
for Facebreaker. No,
I know, and it's like, you know, that's what, I
Facebreaker.
couldn't remember the name of it, so I said Shitty Punch.
Your
but that's
name's
what I
better
meant.
and more
We
apt.
should spend 30 seconds each week just yelling at EA for making Facebreaker. What a pile of shit. Like, honestly, fucking
They
hell.
make good games though, so I'll let them off.
Yeah, but that one.
But they did
was
also, EA did also release Army of Two, and on the back it said only for license in certain countries, not for sale in Czechoslovakia. I was like, probably not, seeing as it's not been a country for about 20 years. But and also, didn't they have with the official World Cup game? Didn't they have for the Republic of Ireland? They had its national anthem was "God Save the Queen."
Oh,
Of all the blunders to make.
That's bad.
But yes, libraries.
Yeah, that's the thing is, we're talking about Fantasy Star Online earlier. It was nice to see the fact that now PSO obviously is kind of like the Dreamcast servers. Funnily enough, I don't think are going anymore. I'm not sure. I'd be surprised if they were. And obviously the GameCube as well. I mean, I could never get the fucking GameCube to work online.
It was an absolute nightmare.
I spent a fortune on all the adapters.
Broadband adapter.
I just couldn't get them to work. I spent so long.
Same with the PS2 one.
I tried to use the warp pipe stuff.
The VHS that goes in the back.
Everything. Anyway, I like the fact that obviously with Blue Burst on the PC, it came out on the PC for a bit, but then all the official support for it disappeared. But then I think it's still going anyway. Maybe not. Maybe it's shut down now. But for many years, there were like unofficial servers that you could just basically use. And a lot of it obviously got a bit plagued by cheaters and stuff. But people were still like, fixing it and sorting it out and doing new events. And, because obviously what was nice about PSO at the time and the whole Dreamcast online era was it had all this unfathomable stuff to do with calendar days. So like you had if you switch it on this day, it does stuff. And
they
used to do it with nights on the Saturn. You remember you had the Christmas nights and stuff. But with PSO it had special events and they were really lame in retrospect. But it was cool that you'd log on and there'd be a new special quest that you could do.
Yeah, true. Gives you a reason.
They kind of kept that stuff going a bit, which is nice. And I kind of worry with stuff like obviously Games for Windows Live is now becoming defunct very soon, which means if you haven't got the achievements on the PC version of Dark Souls, then you can get them quick. And fucking good luck with that because they are a bastard. Like some of them are like get every weapon in the game, which requires you to complete the game like 7 times.
Oh, good. That'd be fun.
No.
5G.
I mean, it's just like, precisely.
Yeah.
Something like 50 as well. It's a big one, the fuckers. Anyway, I kind of worry that with games like that, because I don't really trust Namco to appreciate the long-term benefit of something like that, because they seem like a dim company. I just worry that with any masterpieces like that, which require online to really function,
they won't die one day.
They might die.
Maybe.
It might just be the case if somebody's just going to go, you know what, only 10,000 people are playing this now, let's just switch it off.
Yeah.
Which is a concern. And I just hope that, especially with all these new consoles having very kind of closed off ecosystems, I worry about the future of stuff like that. And in terms of games now increasingly just have online as a part of them.
You're right, because you can always just plug Mario Kart into your SNES, but the games like that won't work.
They're not like that anymore.
Work,
games aren't built like that anymore.
I wonder with the consoles themselves, what happens when you try and use the Xbox One in
it won't
25
work.
years?
It will not work.
Is that
probably
something that
go
will
on
be
record
possible?
now as I don't think
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, especially with the online stuff. Unless they, at the end of the cycle, do a patch which turns that off just for collectors. It is interesting because it's like,
it's brand new territory, isn't it? That's the thing with games.
Mega Drive and SNES, if you still got them in the cupboard, you can plug them in, play them.
The Mega Drive and SNES had internet connectivity via adapters you could buy. But they weren't integral. And I think that in 25 years' time, the Xbox One, it will be the same as if you boot it. I can't remember what it's called. It's something it's like Mega Drive modem, but it's got a stupid, cool, early 90s name.
Extreme modem.
Imagine trying to fire that up now. It just laugh. The internet will go, excuse me?
It'd blow up your house.
What? And with the library, saying about libraries, I have access to one of these Steam Press accounts. So there's so many games in there that like there's a Call of Cthulhu game in there. Get that bad boy on immediately, and people there's people are making patches for all these games, and they're doing the work that publishers really should be doing in games. And in the film industry, in the music industry, I know it's different, but every 10 years you will have a new Godfather, and it will have more stuff that wasn't there before. You'll have like Francis Coppola's original script notes. It will look even better. Call of Duty 4, it'd be like in 10 years, like, oh man, Call of Duty 4 was amazing, wasn't it?
Nobody would do anything with it.
And it will come down to the guys and there was hundreds of people on these servers. And it was like, oh yeah, these are the guys doing it. So it's just a shame it has to fall to the community.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's just because we're not at the stage with the remastering thing. It's a cultural thing with games, and I think it will happen. But it's like now the film industry is big enough that you can just release a new version of Apocalypse Now every 10 years, and they know that film buffs who like to have a collection of top films will go and buy the latest version of it, just for the collection. Whereas games collecting is still in its infancy.
Games in general, though.
I mean, like, what the fuck is going on with art? Like, you can still tell that games are way too geared up to children with the fact that all of our collector's editions is like, hey, look at this plastic shit you get with it. Like,
Can you imagine
a fucking statue of a girl with her tits out. It's like,
there's a statue of Willard on his boat going upriver, reading a monologue about the Vietnam War.
That's it. Oh my God, look at this. It costs 150 quid. Yeah, but you get a little statue of the guy on the boat reading the books. Like, that's so cool.
Don't worry. When the generation shifts and then we're the old generation, we can make it.
You press a little red button on the base of it. Charlie, don't serve.
I'm not going to lie. I probably would buy that, and I would use it to make all my decisions for me. So if it had 6 voices, it'd be like Dice Man. I'd be like, "Ooh, what am I going to do today? Hit it. Whatever Kilgore says, I'm doing it.
There we go.
But I think preserving it is interesting, and I think we are increasingly getting to a zone where the preservation of it is more difficult. It's not just
definitely.
like seal it in a bag and make sure it doesn't get air and water on it. It's more like, how do we keep these infrastructures going?
Yeah, and
I don't think they will.
And it's something
they won't.
That's got to be justified on the end of whoever's funding that as well.
Absolutely.
If there is only
first.
X amount of people playing, and of course no one's going to be buying the game on shelves anymore, then
They'll turn it off because why would they keep it going?
Exactly.
But I mean,
Making
unofficial
money.
patches are awesome for that stuff. Like, I mean, like obviously, I still haven't played it because I don't have time anymore. But I always hear amazing things about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Was it Bloodlines?
Yes, well, the second one, right? The one that was broken.
The one that was really
first
good
Source
but broken.
game.
Yeah. So I mean, I always hear that was incredible, but it was really broken. But the community basically fixed it, and now you can download it. And because Steam is compatible, all that stuff, you can just install patches to it and then run it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Steam is open enough for basically to not give a fuck what you're doing with your files, providing you're not like breaking the game in a way that's cheating. It just goes, oh, sure, you want to install some fixes, regardless of who they're made by? It's
Just
not
do
like
it.
you don't have to wait for an official patch.
Yeah.
And even with The Witcher 2, with the fact that obviously one of the lead combat designers on The Witcher 3 was clearly so bothered by the fact that the combat in The Witcher 2 was just not very good and not as good as it could have been, that he, by the sounds of it, in his own time, because it wasn't an official patch, just created a patch that fixed it.
That's madness.
And it's
That's
like he
absolute
works.
madness.
So it is an employee of
Yeah,
CD
but they can't
Projekt.
call it an official one.
But it's not an official patch because it was just made
they
by
must
him.
love that guy.
It's just like,
There you go.
you're a legend.
Yeah.
But
Before your
I
time.
mean, yeah. So I think it's getting fuzzy, and people always complain about the fact that fans have to do it. But it's fair. I mean, like, the Deadly Premonition PC version is completely fucked, but the same guy who made the patch for Dark Souls is now fixing it.
Yeah.
Just Cause 2 is getting multiplayer in about a week because of someone from the community who's been working on it and releasing betas of it for months now.
It's madness. It's madness. We live in crazy times.
Just Cause 2. Oh, man.
Just cause. Why'd you do it? Just cause.
2.
And I think as well, it's one of those things where the whole working for free thing is a really complicated argument that stretches outside of our industry in terms of like, should people do work for free, etc. But I think if you're like a kind of wannabe game dev and you, as a passion project,
That's the thing. If you got passion, just
if you've
do
got
it.
passion and you really want to do it and you do it, I think a lot of these people do end up getting on to do jobs. And I think, to be honest, it's so much better than trying to do work experience at a studio doing shitty jobs for a long time. What's wonderful about the open source of games is that if there's a game that you love, but it's broken and you can fix it, and you'll probably get the notoriety through that.
Yeah.
So then
Well, look
get
at the
a
Black
job.
Mesa guys.
Precisely.
Like, what games have you made? Made Black Mesa. All right.
Yeah. There's credibility.
Okay. Next question.
And
Can
if
you
you've got-
move here? Or can you work
And
here?
if you're passionate about something, just
So
do
it's
it.
kind of fucked
Live
that
your
they have
passion.
to fix it.
Share
I'm not
the
going to
dream.
argue against that. But at the same time, at least we now don't live in the world where it used to be like, do you remember like how often it was that somebody would be like, hey, I've made a sequel to Chrono Trigger, and it'd be like cease and desist, disappear. Like it used to be that anything involving anyone's IP would be just shot dead on site. And I think it was probably actually Valve with Half-Life stuff that actually changed that, when instead of, because I remember how big a deal it was. What was that Half-Life mod with the dinosaurs and the time travel, which got released? What was it called?
Half-Life Dinosaurs.
I can't remember, but it was a mod for Half-Life, which was like a cowboy sim,
Sounds
space
amazing.
cowboys with dinosaurs. It was quite good. But because it was quite good, Valve basically went, this is a really cool mod. And they gave it a retail release. They basically published it as a separate game.
Yeah.
And that was, I remember that was a big turning point, because it was just like, wow, you can actually use official materials. If you choose the right things and choose companies that aren't dicks, you can use their official IP and actually not only be allowed to do so, but actually be given their support.
Yeah, and everybody benefits.
Which is, beautiful world. I just terrified that one day Steam will die and my collection of games on that will just disappear.
Don't worry about it today, man.
It could happen.
But aliens could come down tomorrow.
That's less likely.
Well, I can't argue with that. That's true. That is true.
Anyway, I won't talk about it this week because we've banged on for too long, but I've also been playing the Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls beta.
Of course, yeah.
And the too long didn't read version of that is, I'm quite interested. It feels like they've actually kind of almost made the game what it should have been originally.
That's good.
With some new stuff as well.
Yeah, to make it feel fresh.
I really hated what they did with the auction house. I felt that the infrastructure and playing as part of a larger economy just absolutely ruined for me the core experience of what
It's
a
not
Diablo
fucking
game should
Diablo.
be.
Like, it's nonsense. Like, looking back on it, and even at the time, people were like, but
No.
come on now.
It was a point at which I realised, and I've said this before, but it was a point at which I realised when I was halfway through Hell difficulty, and I put about 6 hours into Hell difficulty, and I realised all of the equipment I was using was stuff I got at the end of the first difficulty. After 6 hours, I hadn't got a single
That's what Diablo's
item
all about, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
that was better.
Yeah.
And it was because, basically, as soon as you get into hell, normal mode was kind of like a freebie. It gave you fun stuff because it was all low-level stuff. It gave you all the fun stuff you wanted. But then as soon as you got to hell, it was like, well, now you're getting to the level of stuff where it's part of an economy.
You can either farm for new items, or have you heard about the auction house?
Yeah, precisely. Actually, to be honest, all I've got to say on it, so I might as well just say it now, really, is that the amazing thing about the new expansion is it does add a new Act 5, so there's more content. There's a new class, the Crusader, who's basically a crazy tank who runs around bashing stuff with shields. Probably going to make a video about this today or tomorrow, so if you do want to know more specifically, check that out. But what I do like is they've got a new adventure mode, which basically is inspired by World of Warcraft's raid system in a way of being like, you can go to any of the areas in the game, but there are bounties, and it seems to be scaled, so all of the acts are the same difficulty in each like area roughly.
Yeah.
But you can go and kill these bounties that are special monsters, and you get a chunk of experience and gold. But then if you kill all 5 bounties in an act, then you get like a bag which is like full of treasure. So basically it's like if you just want to try and farm for good items, instead of farming and waiting for that tiny percentage chance, you can basically go and do something which will reliably get you a bunch of good treasure.
Yeah.
It still is farming, though, isn't it? I don't know. We'll talk about this in the video.
It's different. It's different, I think. But I agree, it is, but it's more reliable, because the problem with farming in that is it's like you would spend hours and potentially get nothing, whereas this, you definitely get something. But the specifics of farming are an interesting one, and we'll definitely talk about that in the video. So if you're interested in that, and you're interested in Diablo from the perspective of somebody who thought Diablo 3 was pretty fucking shit, do check that out.
And remember, Chris hates farmers.
Yep.
He does. You hate loads of people. You're just a big old racist.
Horrible man. Chris is a
Where
racist.
does racism come from?
What's next?
You tell me, Chris. You tell me.
What's happening now? We're going to talk news, or we done been past that now?
Well, news-wise, what's happened this week? PlayStation 4 sales are very good.
Power PlayStation 4.
Xbox One sales aren't as good.
They're still pretty good, though.
They're still pretty good. They've got less available than the PS4s.
Yeah,
so
they both do well. I think PS4 probably leap off. But yeah, Mario didn't sell. Everyone's going, well, it's only week 1. Games sell the most in week 1.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, you're right.
Oh, right.
But you're wrong. This is the thing. I'm so fucked off with this, because I'm tired of people saying that A, we're not giving the Wii U a chance. B,
well, yeah, I've got something to say. You go, and then I'll go.
B, the fact that people seem to think that it's our responsibility as the media to promote the underdog constantly, and to be like, you need to, and as if the thing is, people say, why are you being down on the Wii U? You should be helping to promote it so that it gets back on its feet. And it's like, well,
our job.
Unfortunately, one, that's not our job. It's our job to report on a combination of facts and opinions clearly flagged based on us, but also the fact that we don't have an impact on this, right? The people who bought the Wii, the people who made Nintendo make their money on the Wii, none of those people, very small fragment of those people, will ever even know this podcast exists or that we exist.
No, they definitely don't.
And the Wii U, the people who need to go and buy it, families that need to go and buy Mario and have that lovely Christmas, they're not going to listen to this podcast. Yeah. So we don't even have the influence to change the Wii U's fortune.
My mum and dad aren't listening right now.
But that's the other thing. This is what I pointed out like in the week, is that I totally understand that games can sell more as their life goes on, and Nintendo games especially historically sell very well week to week. But the point I was making was, if Mario doesn't light up the console world and sell system sellers in week 1, then that is not the game. It's going to turn the Wii U
they've got no long
around.
game, because people are making the argument based on previous figures that Nintendo games like Zelda and Mario have a very long lead, and they don't sell that well week 1, but then over a period of about 6 months, a year, they end up being bestsellers. But the problem is the install base of the Wii U is so low.
Well, this is the other thing.
That the projected sales are really low.
Mario Kart Wii did not sell 29 million copies because 29 million people went, holy shit, we got to play Mario Kart. It sold 29 million copies because 29 million Wii users went, well, I want another game for my Wii. I like that moustache man, and racing is cool. Let's go buy that.
It was an impulse buy over a period, but then
Nintendo marketed the shit out of it as well.
Most people don't have a Wii U.
That's
as you
it.
say.
They need them to sell. They need the new Mario game to sell the Wii U's in that.
That was my point, which people don't understood, is that it does not look like Mario 3D World is going to sell Wii U's.
Yeah.
Zelda, if that even exists on Wii U, definitely won't sell Wii U's. Never has done. Never sold Nintendo price. Always been a game that people buy with the machine or having the machine. And Mario Kart 8 will not sell Wii U's. Mario Kart Wii was because the install base was there. So they are the Nintendo's 3 big games they've got left. None of them look likely to sell in the Wii U's.
Well, Mario Kart might, but they need a substantial price drop.
It's not going to sell 20 million.
They need a substantial price drop. Because you know what? There are a lot of good games on the Wii U. Not enough, to be honest. I think another thing that people forget that really riles me up is when I say there aren't enough good games on Wii U, people say, there are, Matt, and then they name me 7 games, all of which are arguably, 8 to 10 games. They're great games. However, it's not enough. If you are a serious gamer, and I consider myself to be a serious gamer, and what that means to me is that I have an appreciation for the medium, not for genres, not for specific types of games. I like a bit of everything because I'm interested in the medium and I'm interested in that. And that means any of these games that these people fire at me, like the Wonderful 101, Monster Hunter, Mario, all of these games I look at and go, yes, I'd like to play all of those. But most people, I know people who I've met like in pubs when they tell me about some great games. Yeah. I can be like, look, played Red Dead, Portal, and this. Yeah. And you can offer them 6 of the best games ever made, and chances are most people will go, oh, I might have a go at that one. Like, most people aren't interested in all games. Yeah, no, it's true. And telling someone that it's a critically acclaimed game is not enough.
No, it depends what floats, what gets them excited. Because the other thing as well, people say, like, I am a Nintendo fan. I am. I think everything they do is brilliant. I think the Mario is brilliant. I think Zelda's brilliant. But even I can see the Wii U is not. It's just a weird console that doesn't really make any sense, if we're honest. And there's a reason it's not appealing to there's no appeal. That's the problem. There is no appeal.
It's a hard sell. And I think it's a hard sell for a really wide variety of reasons. I do think the gamepad is a big issue. I think when you actually get into the practice of it, when the games work with it, it's great fun. But I think there's something about the fact that it's quite large. The battery life on it isn't very good, which means you need to keep it plugged in, basically. And also because it's quite large and quite an odd shape, you can't stack it with stuff that easily. Yeah. It means it kind of comes with a little stand. The idea is that it stands up next to your telly. The problem is, because of that, because of the controller and the fact that you need to keep it plugged in, you need to keep it somewhere it's hard to store, it kind of positions itself, the Wii U, as being almost a centerpiece, of being something that you have as a major part of your entertainment system, but it doesn't have the software to back that up.
Or the hardware, really.
Or the hardware. The Wii was fantastic because the Wii was a very cool-looking small thing. The Wiimotes looked slick as well, but you could just chuck them in a drawer.
Yeah, it was a gimmick, wasn't it? The Wii succeeded on its gimmick that we all thought wouldn't sell, and we were wrong.
You could describe that gimmick to, someone that isn't as invested in video games so easily.
It was an innate thing.
But that was the problem, wasn't it? You say, Wii bowling, you can actually pretend you're bowling using... I think, I get that. Yeah. You go, Wii U, well, you have a screen and it becomes your portable screen when you walk around. It's a bit like an iPad, I want it.
It's a really tough sell, but I think at the moment it is as simple as there's too many weirdly subtle logistical things that don't work. And I think actually, you know what? The whole being able to put the Wiimotes in your drawer, those things on batteries lasted for fucking ages, which meant that you could just basically chuck them in a drawer. If you chuck your gamepad in a drawer, next time you... take it out to play, it'll probably be run out of batteries. Yeah.
Please don't chuck your...
The other thing I want to point out as well is
in the drawer.
I want the Wii U to do well.
I do.
I want the PS4 to do well. I want the Xbox One to do well because competition breeds creativity. I don't want anything to die. I'm just saying it does not look good for Wii U.
It doesn't look good at all. Yeah. And I don't want it to die. And I think a lot of people get angry because they bought a Wii U and they like the games and they like the console.
Which is cool. That's fine.
Great.
I get that.
That's awesome. But it's just from a purely business-based perspective, it doesn't look good for it. And that does affect us as gamers. A lot of people say, I don't care because I like the games. But if you've got no assurance that they're still going to be making games for it in 2 years, it's not wise to spend.
Are you trying to tell me that in a year's time, Xbox Ones, Microsoft say, we've got 2 games planned for next year? No. They'll have hundreds. As far as we know, in terms of games that you can only play on your Wii U, it would be Zelda and Mario. I'm sure they've got some other stuff up their sleeve, but...
so far...
Super Smash Bros.
They've probably made a loss on Mario. That's the thing. And Nintendo have always been a company that make a lot of profit because they have very low margins.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The thing is, everybody always has this image of Nintendo of being this cute and cuddly, family-friendly family company that will keep making... So everyone's like, it doesn't matter. Nintendo will keep making games for it. And they will, up to a point. But you know what? If they get to year 3 or 4 of the Wii U... and they're still investing a lot of money on games,
eventually.
and they're not making any money, and they're making a loss, they are going to make a new console.
Yeah. And they're a business, and a Japanese business at that.
They are an extremely savvy business.
Yeah, without getting into a broader political point about Japan's economy, but at the same time, Nintendo's got a lot of smart people working for it, and right now, their contingency plan is clearly drawn up, or getting drawn up.
Yeah.
It would have been there from day one, to be honest. This, because it's not like this is the first console that ever went sideways on a company.
Absolutely.
You can take the Saturn, N64 even, really.
GameCube.
They've done it all before, and I think they knew they got they got lucky with a great gimmick on the Wii, and it was insane. So, but they knew they were ill positioned.
The smart
in time.
thing, yeah.
So get something out now, and then you get back into the cycle. They say, "Oh, we're not running for the same, cycles or the same."
No,
audience,
they're not. But they have to.
You have
to
to
degree,
consider those people.
Well, I think that's the problem. Is they've created something which is perhaps supposed to be like a second console.
Yeah.
And I think doing that before the new ones are out, it still means that there's still a chance it might do well as a second console once people have decided which console they're going to get out of these two and dealt with that and save some more money.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know. It feels to me like there's any mainstream buzz for the console is just dead in the water.
It's like the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast came like a year before. It was late 90s, 1999, I think, and then so the Dreamcast had come out before PlayStation 2, and yet it seemed, despite all its obvious merits, it seemed like an intergenerational step. And so people, when they saw the PS2 and it had, a DVD player, for example, they were like, well, this is the true next step because a different medium, blah, 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 blah. And so perception is all important, and I don't think Nintendo are winning that.
I think that's how people are talking about the Wii U in a lot of circles. I think it's hard to call it a next-gen console, isn't it? When you have got the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One there, it's difficult to have them side by side, which sucks because I do like the Wii U console a lot, but
that's the thing.
You can only defend it up to a point.
That's the problem, and I think a lot of people think I'm being down on Nintendo, and it frustrates me because I'm very much not. I think one of the smartest things about Nintendo as a company is that they have, for a very long time, been a company who accept failure and have failure built in. They've
the
failed
Virtual
so
Boy.
many times,
Yeah.
but they know that, and it's fine. They always are very savvy with their money. So they know they don't always get it right, but when they do, they make a lot of money. And they're not a stupid company, and that's what happened. And I think a lot of people now, when you start saying, look, I'm sorry, but at what point are you going to accept that the Wii U has been a failure commercially and in terms of its future as a platform? You've just got to accept that. And actually, I've got to the point now where every time I make a mention like this, I get loads of people on Twitter saying, oh, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm not replying to any of those messages anymore because you're just deluded. This is purely a numbers game.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. Like, it's not our opinion. My opinion is I hope it does really well.
I want it
but
to.
The numbers do not speak. I mean, the PS4's already outsold it in the UK. PS4's been out 5 days.
And you know what? I could go out. I could say you should go out and buy a Wii U. But as I've said in the past, even now when I've seen deals where it's like 250 quid for a console with a couple of games, I don't want to bite on that. And I don't know why, and that's not my fault.
But that's your inner impulse, isn't it? It says no. It says that's not the right deal.
Not quite yet.
So
no.
from you, as a, like you said, mega gamer, I think that speaks volumes.
But yes, the thing is, people should say we should be promoting these things, but if I honestly and I'll fully honestly look at this and go, I'm not going to get that, I'm not going to tell anyone else to. The 3DS, however, I think is still a console that has a great chance to be awesome for gamers. And I can wholly recommend
4 3DSs.
150 quid for a DSXL.
Definitely.
It's a badass bit of gear.
Yeah.
Fucking do it. But the Wii, I'm sorry.
No, dude, look. I
just feel bad because people take it personally, but it's not a personal thing.
I hope Nintendo, as always, proves us all wrong and somehow, sells these consoles, but where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? So,
they're running out of cards up their sleeves, etc.
Yeah, no more cards. Anyway, let's get not serious.
Well, actually, we have stormed over time here. So what do we want to do? Do we want to go for because last week we went on YouTube's. We can carry on. We could do a longer podcast this week.
Let's do a slightly longer one.
Let's do a longer one.
Can I do a Wii first?
Yeah, go and have a Wii.
Yeah.
Treat yourself.
Is this what do we do when he goes for a Wii?
We'll carry on.
Okay. This is cool. All right, man, we got so freeform now. I love it.
I used to have pisses all the time in the podcast.
Did you?
What?
Just went though, right? Just went in the bucket.
Right in the bucket.
The questions are always fun.
I've got an interesting question actually. Always Gaming.
Wait. Are we doing Twitter?
This is on Twitter.
Okay, right.
Always Gaming asks, will the podcast be on YouTube this week? Interesting question.
Yes.
But you might be listening to it on YouTube already, which
like
will have
paradox.
already answered it.
In
It'll
be on
some
YouTube
respects.
this week. It's back.
Let's see. Jal Veenstra asks, will Microsoft continue to improve the Kinect, or will they decide that they should cut their losses and move on?
No way. They'll plow everything they've got into that until they bleed motion control and blood.
It's bundled in with their console.
I think it's safe to say they've already made their bed on this.
Yeah. They even if it costs them billions of dollars, they will not stop until they get that thing to work how they want it to.
They can change the kind of interface they're using at the moment, which is very Kinect heavy.
Do that too, yeah.
And I think a lot of people would respect that, but they're not going to suddenly get Kinect.
They need a big game that shows how Kinect works.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get that for about a year.
Fighter Within 2.
Yeah, not that. I mean, Wii Sports. Kinect Rivals does a good job, but again, it's still very cartoony and very flat-footed. So they need a game that genuinely says, look what we can do. Maybe that's Halo 5. I don't know. Maybe Halo 5. I mean, Microsoft plow a lot of money into it, so if they say it has to have Kinect, it has to have Kinect.
Oh, I don't know. I think they're still going to try and keep the gap between the two, but we'll see.
I don't know. I
hope that's true, but they are
fucking everything, aren't they? I'm sorry, I'm really fed up with.
It's all right, be fed up, mate. It's okay. We're here
the more
for you.
time I've spent with the Xbox One and the more time I've used it, it just feels like a big fucking joke. I used it last week.
I wasn't going to tell you till next week, but it has been a massive joke.
What?
Imagine I told you that.
Oh, they had
Xbox One isn't out yet, Matt.
That's one that Brat built. Imagine you did. How impressive would that be?
But I must stipulate this. It's so easy just to go, fuck the Xbox One, get a PS4. But this generation is so different. Last generation, like the PS3, was just a more solid, reliable bit of hardware. But then the hardware on the Xbox 360, a lot of them was just completely fucked. You couldn't change that. If you bought one day one, chances are your Xbox was going to die. You didn't know that at the time, sure, but that was the long and short.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas now, I'd love to say fuck Xbox One, get a PS4, but you know what? So many of the faults and successes of both sides are software.
Yeah, they
it's
can
stuff
change
that
it overnight.
Can be literally change. So I'd love to say buy one or the other right now, but really
I don't know either.
They could change. I could tell you that the PlayStation 4 right now, all I can tell you is that right now the PlayStation 4 for games is a far better console. But in a week, that might not be the case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you might as well wait until there's any good games you want to play before you make that kind of investment.
Actually, I tell you what, you probably have a better idea in a week. Lots of big things being announced on
Very
Saturday.
true.
So yeah, maybe wait a week.
And the Spiky Awards.
Yeah, they're so spiky, man.
They're so spiky.
Well, this is a more difficult question to answer before that happens, but McLovin, your mum,
What?
over on the forum asks, what is everybody's most anticipated game of next year?
Dark Souls 2.
Dark Souls 2.
South Park.
South Park.
South Park.
Why not, eh? South Park.
Why not?
Why not throw that in there?
I'm struggling. I think it might be the new Dragon Age, which is weird.
Yes, I don't believe that's next year.
You know,
Nah, I got an awful gut feeling it's going to be 2015. If that is next year, that would definitely be up there for me. But I know South Park. Actually, maybe South Park's never coming out. Who knows? Fucking Ubisoft released stupid stuff for South Park. Waste my time.
Wow. Another unwise username from Placenta who asks, does Simon actually hate Chris because Chris is quite lovely?
What?
That's a fact.
That's what I may
But
or may
he's
not be
lovely
Placenta.
in like a wormy kind of a way, and no one likes the worm.
What?
I don't know.
Are you, what, hold
Makes
on.
sense.
Was
The
the
worm.
question about
Is
you
that a
being,
wrestling
about
character
you being
by any
lovely?
Yeah, probably.
No, that was a statement at the end of the question. It was unnecessary for me to include that bit, to be honest.
It
but,
really was, wasn't it?
but there we are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Moving on to, let's see. Ryan Archer on Twitter asks, what are each of your personal worst games of the generation? Which is quite a big question. Worst game of the generation?
Worst game of the generation. Oh, well, that's the
Hour of
thing
Victory.
Hour of Victory
isn't it?
it's not the worst for me.
Oh no, I've just got mine.
But Hour of
actually.
Victory. Hour of Victory is the game where you have 3 World War II
You
shooter.
can only climb stairs with one class.
Climb
Yeah,
ladders. with one.
you say that's your worst game, but the funness with which you two talk about that
My worst
suggests
game
otherwise.
is Fusion Frenzy 2. I mean that legitimately as well. If you play that game online, it has these huge cutscenes in between each minigame. All the minigames are broken too. But it has these huge cutscenes where this crazy host, who's supposed to be like Jason Donovan, is talking to you, and you cannot skip those cutscenes.
Right.
You go on for about 10 minutes.
Yikes.
So a minigame collection online will last you about an hour.
These questions are all a bit, I always find them a bit weirdly irrelevant because it's like, I think people want us to say a game that's like just was a bit disappointing, like games that were like 7 that they've played.
Yeah, I really. Yeah. Halo Reach,
Like,
worst game.
oh, yeah,
oh
disaster.
man, did you see it? Like
Bioshock Infinite.
Rogue Warriors?
Where,
Mine though.
of course, like mine, Rogue Warrior is a good shout. Mine is Blaze of Time, which is a game you'll never play.
Oh yeah.
Blaze of Time.
You shouldn't play either, I
played
imagine,
it
as well.
Yeah, I had to play it for review. People
Okay.
were like, oh, games review must be fun. Yeah, it's fun when you're playing the good games. But I mean, I played Blaze of Time. It's just like a horrendous, joyless mess of cleavage and brown. It's just shit.
Actually, I do remember that. Yeah, it's bollocks.
I had to review it, and it was like, you know, people. Sometimes you play a game, you think this is so funny, but it was just like that was just like joyless.
Yeah.
It was just I hated every moment spent with that game.
Yeah.
I think
There you go.
mine was Kinect Star Wars. It's not the worst game of the generation, but
It's Pat.
it was a Kinect game about using a lightsaber, and they managed to make it
Lightsaber
so terrible.
Yeah.
And look how far we've come, hey? Kinect's
Connect
Doing
lightsaber
some
to-
Connect, to connect away.
Exactly.
If
Still
you
singing it.
haven't heard that, you should.
You should, yeah.
This week,
I'm proud.
in case you don't know, obviously, you know, we do a weekly
case you
video
don't know.
now me and Miller, and we had Dave guesting this week, but we do a weekly video called Reviewsicles, where we review a game or a product whilst singing along to a popular known, usually kind of rock ballad.
Yeah, 80s.
But this week was about Connect, to the tune of Take My Breath Away by
It's
Berlin.
wonderful.
If you have not yet seen it, I would highly recommend you do so.
So would I.
Because I had a lot of fun filming it.
Indeed.
Anyway, next question.
Well, I'll wrap it up with a more positive one here. This is something everyone can look forward to. It's from Brett Claxton again, man with a cool name. Who asks, what games do you plan to be playing over the Christmas break? So, Christmas games, what are you playing?
I thought you were going to do Zelda, boys.
Well, I've played it too much now. I'm Zelda'd out.
I think mine's going to have to be The Last of Us. It has to happen now, otherwise I'm never going to play that game.
You'll get it ruined
and I'll
for you
be
if you're
very
not
sad.
careful.
Yeah, won't I, Simon? Oh, he almost made a spoiler on the live stream the other night.
Well, he didn't quite, though, I guess.
I think.
Hopefully.
I don't know what I'll be playing over Christmas.
Oh,
The
God, that
game-
sounds like the start of an NSPCC advert. Simon doesn't know what games he'll be playing this Christmas, but he knows he'll be alone.
Yeah. Suggest some games for him.
I'm cold.
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Just £30 a month. Buys him another fucking video game.
Steve, what's your Christmas game? You got one? You got something you've been holding off for?
No, Christmas games used to be Uncharted games, but then Uncharted 3 came out and it made me so mad.
It ruined Christmas.
I didn't finish it, so I could go back to it, but I won't because it will ruin another Christmas. I don't really know. I think because I spend a lot of time around Christmas, with go home with my friends.
Game.
So probably
game.
Pez, to be honest. Probably a lot of Pez.
Party Pez returns.
Yeah.
Steve
Pez.
Burns.
Just easy, and then dip into the old Steam library and see what's about.
Have a dabble.
Oh, yeah.
Dip into my Steam library.
1,400 games.
Fucking hell.
You can have whichever one you want.
Yeah. Not Batman Arkham Origins, though. That's not on there.
Oh, man.
It's good to know. It's good to know.
I'm going to play a bit of Zelda, probably. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to play. I'm going to play Monaco.
Oh, yeah, nice.
What's yours is mine.
Yeah.
Because I played a little bit of that with Bratters at the start of the year or earlier in the year for a little video on the internet. And I really like the look of it. And I like playing games like that with my brother.
Yeah.
Last year we played Origins.
Nice.
Rayman Origins was just an amazing time. Actually, if you haven't played any of the Rayman games yet and you've got family who even vaguely like games, can't recommend enough that you play that multiplayer whilst obviously a bit tipsy because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
You're just going to have almost
Untold fun.
yeah, you won't be able to understand the fun that you're having. It will just make you smile and laugh, and you'll
that
have
is
a
an
lot of joy.
endorsement.
How many people ended up playing Monaco? Because I've got no idea, really.
I think it did okay.
They
It's
did well,
basically
I think,
it's
yeah.
a top-down, colourful heist game where you all take on a different role, and it's
Yeah.
really good for.
We've got a great
sitting
feature
down on a
about
couch
that
with
coming this
people.
Saturday. About,
Oh, that's timely, isn't it?
yeah,
Cool.
about Monaco and
Didn't
about
even plan it.
how heist games, about how a lot of developers try to take films and cram the tenets of film into games, but it's heist games that really meld the two forms really, really well. So yeah,
do.
look over it Saturday.
Except for Payday 2, which is frankly overrated.
I still want to play more Payday. You know what? What I saw of Payday, I really like the look of it. It felt like a game you need to invest more time in.
It ended up being a horde mode where you killed police officers over and over
I
again.
think it did to begin with, but I get the impression the more I read about it and the more I see about it that you need to put a little bit of time in before you do anything else. But I played a couple of games people knew what they were doing, and it was totally different. It was they were like
Left 4 Dead in that way. It feels like a lot of strategies come out later.
They knocked out guard and then switched his radio off and said to the radio, "Oh, everything's fine." And they really had stopped it. So there was a tiny shootout at the end, but really,
I've played it for probably 3 to 4 hours and haven't had one experience like that. It just feels like if that's what you want to do it straight away. Don't.
Well, I know.
lock it
I agree
behind.
with that. I think
Bullshit.
they fucked up with that. But I do think that it's a game I'd like to play with 3 friends on
Yeah.
Skype and take it really seriously and try and level
See
up
what you
and
can
try and
do, yeah.
specialize.
Yeah.
Because there was something there. It was one of those things where I didn't like the fact that it became a kind of police shooting gallery way too quickly and for the first start of the game. But there was also something there, the whole thing of throwing a bag at somebody else, grabbing it and walking down, and the soundtrack kicking in.
Yeah, it's cool.
It does really evoke
yeah.
that kind of heist movie feeling.
Yeah, it's cool. The master
Payday
stuff
2
is
is
cool.
also in that feature talk about how two games that are very different take filmic influences and change them. And I think that Payday 2, I think you're both right. I think that from what I've played of Payday 2, it should start in a far faster and better manner. Now I'm using the drill and the drill stopped. But at the same time, how do you build the longevity into the game? I suppose they could have built bigger levels or bigger heists, but again, that's a design.
I think they're still working on it a lot. I know there've been some complaints about the DLC. It's interesting though. I mean, a lot of people I know have played it for a very long time, and there's clearly something now, and I'm intrigued to work out what it is. But I'm on the same page as you, Brad. I mean, I think when we made the video, I was making that same complaint. I dislike the fact that it doesn't give you any option immediately to be stealthy.
Show your cards. Get on with it.
But it was a sort of game where I was crap at it, but I wanted to get good at it. I enjoyed how crap I was, though. Yeah. I enjoyed the fact it's like, I'll look after the hostages. Yeah. And then literally I look away from the hostages for a couple of minutes and I come back and I'm like, all of the hostages are gone. I might have stopped looking at them for a minute. There was something fun about that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Any more questions?
No, I think that we need to quickly rattle through.
Well, we do. Well, first of all, we have
we're doing this thing,
don't we?
First of all, we have it was a feature which we introduced.
I've forgotten this already.
This was a feature that we introduced last week, and it's now going to be a weekly feature. But and a bit of a first here. Hopefully, this will work. I've created a podcast sting. Ooh, you're listening to a professional podcast now, baby. That's right. Get in my car. Yeah, that's right. I kind of muted it a bit too early at the end, but Miller Instinct. You get the gist.
I genuinely, for the sake of everyone listening, don't know what this question is.
Yeah, because we tweet out during the podcast.
We should probably say quite a few people suggested Miller Instinct questions before the podcast began, which is great, and thank you for getting involved. But we can't let Simon know anything
because he has to give a gut reaction to this question.
It's got to be the Miller Instinct.
So when we tweet out for questions on the morning of the podcast, send us any questions, but you've got to wait for the Miller Instinct tweet. Yeah. So here we go. Here's the Miller Instinct question for this week.
Are you nervous?
This is from David Twomey, aka Kramus. He sent quite a lot of Miller Instinct questions.
Cheers, mate.
But this one's quite good. I like this one. 3 thugs surrounding Bratters. Intervene or strange curiosity to wait a few minutes and see what happens.
The latter.
Because
why are 3 thugs surrounding you? Like, I'd have to know what was going on. And also, if they
benefit of the doubt, Simon.
No. If they did start attacking you, then I could swoop in and make sure you were right. But they may do something funny like, I don't know, integrate you into their gang or put you into the locker would be the best, and I can come and laugh at the locker. So until I know what they're doing. Also, I can't just go and beat up some thugs when I don't know what their responsibility is. They have to do something wrong before I intervene.
That is classic.
So
thank you, the authorities.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's a man outside my house with an axe. Yeah.
Has he killed anyone yet?
But there's a big difference.
He's got a hockey mask on as well.
Is it outside Brat's house?
That would be hilarious.
I'd leave the guy outside Pratt's house and just to wait and see what he's going to do. I'd wait.
Curiosity.
I'd wait.
That's
as long as there is some kind of Batman moment once.
I just want the Batman moment, if I'm honest. I just jump in.
Well, that's Miller Instinct for this week.
I like
Thank
Miller
you for
Instinct.
taking part. I'm going to play the jingle again because I messed it up. One sec.
That was better.
That was better. So just imagine you heard it like that the first time.
I love it.
But yeah, it's a new weekly feature. Congratulations, us. We've got buttons.
We did it, yeah.
And also, before we go on to the competition winner, obviously we do Member of the Month, which is you can win a game of one of 3 ways, thanks to the lovely people of shop2.net. You can win 1 for being the coolest person on the forum, as voted by the forum. So, I mean, take that with a pinch of salt. Or 2, you can be, as a joke, I love you. Or 2, if you just vote for somebody in the forum,
you get entered into it as well.
Then you get entered into a raffle where you can win a game for basically doing fuck all.
I will get in contact with those 2 winners from last month. After the podcast, so probably should have brought their names in here.
It's fine, Brad. Don't worry, that's fine. Those are honestly like slightly less important. The forum winner is important. Obviously, the random winner, that's not important. We don't need to announce that.
Pat on the back.
Congratulations on being randomly selected. You really earned it.
You did it.
But this is the real. I mean, this is the crux. This is the meat of the
people
pie.
that put effort in.
This is for the competition, which was we want people to reinvigorate a classic character and bring back a mascot from an old era for a modern day.
Yeah.
And we did also say if you wanted to, you could create your own brand new mascot. But what we were really looking for was to take a classic video game mascot and bring them forward into the
next generation.
And I've got to say, you guys are bloody awesome. When we started doing this as a laugh, we just got loads of really terrible drawings.
Which is good.
Which is great. And we're still getting loads of terrible drawings. Yeah. And don't stop doing that because, my God, they do make me laugh.
Yeah, me too.
But the level of quality and inventiveness in the past couple of months has got ridiculous. I was saying to Brad, it used to just be that we'd be like, haha, these are funny, but that one's definitely the winner. Whereas now, we've actually
had to have a jury involved.
It's really hard. I mean, I know the thing is, people always say, "Oh, it was so hard to pick a winner," right? Generally speaking, it's not. People are lying. When people say, "Oh, it's so hard to pick just one winner from all you excellent," what they really mean is most of them were shit. This person's clearly really good. But in this case, I genuinely mean that.
Yeah, we had discrepancies.
And I mean, I just like to give some shout outs. You got some shout outs as well. But Obsidian Aura did an amazingly weird thing, which was like cool spot wearing the Oculus Rift, and you could see what he was seeing in the Oculus Rift, and it was like a demonic 3D picture of Don Matrick.
Demonic Don Matrick.
It was fucking weird, but I like that. Annihilator, the Monomat.
I was trying.
It's hard.
Yeah, that one was awesome.
What have you got?
I've got basically because when we were talking about it in the initial announcement. We were talking about an adult Spyro the Dragon.
Yeah, that was
bringing
great.
him forwards. Look at that! Ram the Dragon.
Who did that?
Freaking awesome.
Obviously, we're making a mistake here.
I
usually make this mistake of using podcast.
But you can hear that I'm waving a picture around, right?
I've got to say, we are going to do.
That is.
We are going to do a gallery video, even though we've announced the winner. So if you want to see these, then do check out the gallery because there'll be a fantastic. Or you can just go to the forum and skip to the front of the meet queue. So that was an amazing Spyro. Annihilator did a picture of Judgment Boy. I love Gregory Horror Show, so that's cool.
The Victorian did Knick Knack, which was a combination of Nicolas Cage and Knack.
It was my winner, to be honest.
Good pun.
I'm sorry you didn't win this time, but it was
Weasel
my
Pants did an amazing reboot of Bubsy. I really liked the drawing. It had a nuclear explosion in the background, and it had a very dynamic.
That was really good. Yeah, and I like
there was
that
something
one,
about the drawing. It was they've got a real eye for dynamic character design. I thought that was excellent. And
there was a bunch of.
So
really
who
good
won?
ones.
Damn it!
However, the winner.
I think the reason this one's a winner is, in my mind, is because it's so drawing. It's very amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, such mascot. Wow. And it's somebody who's made Naughty Doge. Doggy Doge. I think it's Doge.
I think it's Doge.
Actually, let's raise a question. How do you say it?
I don't know.
I know it's an internet meme. I know you say meme by saying meme.
I've always
and
gone
not
for
meme.
Doge.
But this is
seems right.
Let's go with Doge if we
This is
want to go with
Mr.
Doge.
The Quiff is Dead, and it is a picture of Crash Bandicoot with the face of the meme Doge. And the execution is perfect, the joke is funny, and it could not be more of our time than that. So
well done, my friend.
And it made me laugh a lot. And it's just generally a fucking brilliant picture. Hopefully it's already on Reddit or something, because it's just ace. So you've won a bloody video game of your choice.
Can you believe it?
If you believe in video games, magic will happen. I don't know what that was.
It's all right, it's good.
But yeah, we'll announce a brand new competition next week. But yeah, if you don't already do that, then do sign up to our forums, because it's a way of possibly winning a free game.
Free stuff.
And
Free
not
money.
that many people vote. So actually, you've got like quite good odds. It's better than gambling.
Exactly. Fact.
Yeah, and finally, I just want to say thank you so much to those of you who last week, obviously we did have some trouble with YouTube. We're now on the way to fixing that. We're dealing with that. Everything's going fine. But a lot of people, after we did request that you guys went and wrote us a review on iTunes.
Yeah, they did. It was nice.
Loads of people did.
And I also need to say, a few people wrote it in Pig Latin. So I'm glad to know my stupid jokes actually mean something to some people. So thank you very much for that.
But no, it was wonderful. We went from having like about 70 reviews on iTunes to having over 150.
Yeah.
So we were like totally blown away by that. We obviously have a lot of people say they love the podcast, but you guys clearly do, and we love you a lot. So if you do want to give us another vote or a review, if you haven't done that already, that's lovely. Because
and I like reading them, to be honest. Sometimes I just like iTunes. I like to see what people say. That's probably massively arrogant and egotistical, but
it's always good to know.
Sometimes that's what I do with my time.
It's your time, Simon.
Exactly. And if I want to do it by doing that, you know what? Next time I'm going to put my pants down my pants and do it as well.
Whoa.
For the record, I'm not doing
on,
that. I just felt like I
please.
needed one ridiculous thing.
Okay.
I might do it. I might do it.
No, that's all right. You can do it. I'm not going to do it.
But yes, you are brilliant. And again, we are overwhelmed by these wonderful drawings and your iTunes-based love. So thank you very much once again, and thank you for listening. This has been a slightly longer episode this week, but hopefully you will enjoy that and not go, oh, for fuck's sake.
Too long.
An hour and a half.
That pisses
How long is it?
flipping bollocks. It's about an hour and a half.
That's okay.
Oh,
That's all right.
it's not
That's no
too
problem.
bad.
That's fine. That's fine.
But it's
People
not
got
as,
stuff to do, guys. Come on.
It's not as tight and taut as our usual.
No, and I like tight and taut.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. I need to leave the country now. Joined by Chris Bratt,
Goodbye.
Simon Miller,
Adios, amigo.
and Mr. Stephen Burns.
Bye.
Bye.